Hi, my name is Justin Effington, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through the steps that I go through as a survey specialist to create a done-for-you survey that you can take and publish as thought leadership content and PR. So if you're a B2B marketer and you're looking for a way to level up your content and make it more based on data versus opinion, this is a great way to do that. And I run surveys, and you publish my survey insights as thought leadership content and PR campaigns. So I'm going to start off with an intro, and then I'll just jump into my experience and then a few case studies. And then I'm going to get right into the steps that I go through and show you my process to run a survey for you. Just really quickly, I've been doing survey data for content for most of my career. It's over 20 years now. I can't believe it, but it is. I work with a lot of big brands like Adobe and Deloitte and Cisco and TD Ameritrade. But also a lot of smaller, younger brands, startups, specifically tech startups that are trying to look more established and be more thoughtful and helpful in their content that they create. So I'm going to jump in just a couple of examples of case studies. I work with, like I mentioned, some brands. I work with Audible. I was able for Audible to 10x their content engagement with a specific survey a number of years ago. I work with Intercom, developed their #1 lead generation campaign. I've used to, in fact, if you've heard of Qualtrics, it's a very large survey and experience management platform, multi-billion-dollar. I ran the thought leadership team at Qualtrics for a number of years, and I've since left them. They're still a client, but I left to go do for other clients what I did at Qualtrics, which was generate survey data for content. I've listed Cart.com here. You might not know who Cart is, kind of a mid-sized business, but they run software that helps e-commerce and retailers automate their warehouses and their logistics. And I mention them here because the example I'm going to run you through was the actual Cart project. Work with Adobe, I work with Career Builder and SAP and 3M and Deloitte and WorkVivo, which is part of Zoom. Also work with Cisco, and you can see some of the examples here on the website. So I'll run, just skip over that, but just to kind of set the foundation for what I do. So if we were to work on a survey together, and I ran a survey for you, everything I do is custom. And the first thing that I would do for you, excuse me, is not what you think. I wouldn't write your survey first. In fact, I would never write your survey first. Instead, I would write your survey report first before I've even run a survey. And I do this in the form of writing dream headlines. A dream headline is an insight or a key stat that we would hope to be able to offer or find at the end of the survey project. It's something that's valuable. It answers a question. It is something that's of use for your buyers. I always say that it's almost like free consulting. We're trying to get data that is so helpful that your buyers would pay for it if they had to. And that's how you generate leads. But I write headlines for you. And so for example here in this card example, we're surveying retail and e-commerce operations leaders. So, I might write a headline like X% of retail operations plan to increase their budget in 2025. This survey is something that I ran in late 2024, by the way. The kinds of retailers that are most aggressively investing in automation. Maybe a stat like X% of these leaders see warehouse automation as a critical area, but only X% have a finalized automation plan. So you can see I would propose a number of these headlines for you, anywhere between about 30 and 50 headlines for you. And then once you like those headlines, what I do is I reverse engineer each headline into a neutral survey question, and I program that into a survey tool. The survey tool might be a tool called Question Pro. It might be a tool called Qualtrics, which I just referred to. But in any case, I'm being neutral in the way I create these questions based on those headlines. We're not trying to engineer an outcome. We're not trying to tweak the methodology to give us those outcomes. We want to get to what's true and interesting. And so I would write these surveys in a way that's neutral and fair and gets us to truth, not necessarily an engineered outcome. Once the survey is done, the next step is to find survey respondents for you. And this is where a lot of DIY survey project runners fall short, or they run into a roadblock. And how do you find enough qualified, engaged, and vetted respondents? In this case, we were looking for senior leaders in retail logistics. That's not a very easy find, right? We were 360 respondents. We actually went a little bit higher at the end of that project, but I do that by using a network of global panels. A panel is simply a company that goes out and finds respondents for you, that vets them and verifies them. In this case, I used a platform called Cint. In other cases, I might use Qualtrics as the platform to find respondents. There are a number of others that I use. I just want to show you here, but I can be profiling for these respondents based on their company department, by their job title, by the industry that they're in, by their seniority, by the company size that they're at, a number of things like that. So you can see, I have a number of avenues where I can find these respondents for you and make sure that they're both vetted and engaged when they take the survey. So after we've done the survey, I've had all the results come in, we've hit our respondent quota. Then the first thing I do is I look at the raw data of our survey. And this is an example of what raw survey data looks like. It's a little bit of gibberish for some, but it seems to make sense to me. I've been doing it long enough. I look through the raw data to make sure that these numbers look right, that there are no people just straight lining answers all the way down, or there's no one rushing through the survey, not taking enough time with it. I'm also going to be asking attention check questions in the survey to make sure that engagement is high during the survey. So this is just a personal step that I take to make sure that we've got good, high quality data, and we don't have bad actors or bots or any kind of respondent in there that might not be qualified to take the survey. Once I've okayed the survey data itself, I will start to make reports for you. This is an example of an online report that I would share, an online dashboard. The data is making sure it's coming in evenly and that we see good distributions throughout. This is an example of data of a dashboard that I might share with you as a client. I've got a few different other operational kinds of dashboards I can show you, but this is kind of a general example. Then once we have that data, I actually like to go in and look at the internals of the survey. So I can break out respondents by, for example, in this example, industry. And I can see how each industry is answering our survey compared to the other industries. So I'm seeing how apparel is answering versus fashion versus health and beauty versus home goods. These are all types of retailers we were trying to engage with our survey. And this is really a great tool because now you could even break out, if we had a sample size big enough, you could break out a report just for one industry. In this case, maybe they want to do, CART wants to do just an apparel and footwear report or a fashion report. Very easy to do that after I break out all the responses for you here. Okay, once we've done these breakouts, what I will do very often is go back and start writing content for you. Some clients want this, some clients don't want this. In this case, CART wanted me to create an ebook for them about our survey findings. First thing you got to do if you're going to have an ebook is to write the ebook. So this is an example of an ebook. It's titled "Where Are Retail Leaders Increasing Their Logistics Investments for 2025?" It goes over introductions, survey methodology, what you're going to learn in this ebook, who the ebook is for, respondent breakouts, and then I get into those juicy headlines. If you remember before when I showed you the headlines, there was like XXXX, all those placeholders because we didn't have numbers yet, but now we have those numbers. And so you can see that I've included those numbers here. A lot of times I will create a recommended action that goes with each survey insight, and the client can choose to publish those or not publish those. But here's an example of a written draft of an ebook. Obviously, I would send this to you. You could give me comments and feedback as the client's done here. But once we come to a final version of that ebook, well, we can also design that ebook for you. This is an example that we did for CART of an ebook. I have a few designers that I work with who can create this type of asset for you. So this had a lot of data in it, so we had a lot to put in here, but I wanted to at least show you what that can look like. It's definitely packed with a lot of insights here. And this becomes a lead magnet type of asset where you can actually charge, you can basically gate this type of an asset so it becomes a lead generation tool for you. So once you have assets like this and blog posts and some infographics, it's really a great tool because you can go into press, you can start talking to journalists about your data, and you just look different. You, instead of going out with a bunch of opinions that are kind of the same recycled ChatGPT opinions that everybody else has, you have data that no one else has, and you create content that promotes itself. That's the goal here, is to create content that promotes itself. And content that you don't need to babysit. It's more shared, it's more covered because people talk about it. Very few people have their own thought leadership data. So what do? They use yours and they point to yours. So that's just a run through of what a project looks like and how we create survey data that you can turn into thought leadership content and PR.